If there's any news from the world of fashion that would actually matter to you as a K-pop fan, you're gonna hear about it in this video. Welcome back to K-pop fashion news that actually matters to K-pop fans. This is a bi-weekly news report filled with news from the fashion world that's actually relevant to K-pop fans. I post this on my Instagram every 2 weeks, but I thought because I'm kind of in my newscaster era, that would make a YouTube component to it as well. So if you want to read, go check out my Instagram, and if you want to watch, check out my YouTube. The first thing we have to talk about are all the cruise collection runway shows, because this is the time where you really see which K-pop idols that the brands are really loving at the moment. Since these cruise collections or resort collections, whatever you want to call them, it's the same thing, are actually really commercially important to the brands. A lot of the times, these brands will go all out for these runway shows by having them at certain destinations instead of in Paris or in Milan where they usually are. This also means that the guest lists for these destination shows are typically a little bit more selective because they can't fly everybody out to these locations, right? That would be too expensive. So usually there'll only be 1 or 2 K-pop idols in attendance, if that. Starting with Gucci, who showed the collection in London, the only K-pop idol to be in attendance for that show was Lino from Stray Kids. It was interesting to see that they didn't bring any of their existing ambassadors, but they brought Lino. And I think they did this because they're kind of experimenting to see which other K-pop idols they can appoint as a male ambassador. Gucci has a new creative director named Sabato De Sarno, and with him being new to the brand and Kai, their existing ambassador, being in the army, I think it's a crucial time for Gucci to actually appoint a new male ambassador to really show what Sabato's vision is for the brand. I think that Lino looked fantastic at the show, and he put massive numbers on the board for them. I feel like Stray Kids is kind of having their moment in fashion, so he was definitely a good choice for Gucci. Next we have Felix, also another Stray Kids member, who attended the Louis Vuitton show in Barcelona. This doesn't really surprise me though, because Louis Vuitton, they love Felix right now. They love Felix. I think that out of all the K-pop idol ambassadors Louis Vuitton has right now at the moment, Felix is probably the closest to them, or he's probably the closest to Nicolas Gasquet, their creative director for the women's. Finally, we have Juyeon from the Boys, one of my faves, who attended the Balenciaga show in Shanghai. And him and Balenciaga have been kind of developing a somewhat closer relationship because he attended the last show and now he was the only K-pop idol to attend the show in Shanghai. And in terms of all the brands, I really think that Balenciaga is probably the most selective when it comes to K-pop idol ambassadors. They actually don't even have one. So maybe Juyeon could be the first. Hopefully. The next thing I want to talk about is Hanni's new campaign for Gucci. This is actually the first time she's done a solo campaign for the brand, and it was for the Horsebit collection for their Horsebit 1955 bag, and also the Horsebit loafers, 1953 loafers, or whatever the name is, I don't know. But yeah, the campaign was cute, it was set in Seoul. I feel like it was a great first campaign for her. I actually did a whole review on my Instagram page, so if you want to read the K-pop stan review of that campaign, make sure to check that out. But what I really want to talk about this is that I feel like this campaign really shows that Gucci is kind of committed to Hanni as their ambassador to give her a whole solo campaign. Previously, she did a campaign for the same bag, but it was with 3 other co-stars or something like that. But yeah, this solo campaign to me was a big deal. I really feel like they're trying to show that they're committed to Hanni, Hanni's the girl, they want to turn Hanni into the ultimate Gucci girl. In a somewhat unconventional move, Vogue Korea actually announced Yeonjun to be the new ambassador for Montclair. And the reason I say this is unconventional because people on Instagram and TikTok were trying to drag me. They felt like I was being shady, saying, oh, well, it's obvious he was the ambassador. Why are you saying supposedly? The reason I say supposedly is that I don't like to say something unless it's confirmed by the brand themselves, because I find it weird that for a brand to have a global ambassador, that's a big deal, right? So why wouldn't the brand say that themselves? Why would they leave it to Vogue Korea to say it? And not to say Vogue Korea is not a trustworthy source of reporting. I'm just saying, I don't want to speak with the fact until a brand says it. So yeah. But anyways, going back to Yeonjun being Montclair's global ambassador, what's really interesting about this appointment is that this is actually one of the first times, or the first time I've actually seen that a K-pop idol would simultaneously represent 2 brands. So we have Tomorrow by Together as a whole, which are ambassadors for Dior, right? And then we have Yeonjun for Montclair. And this is actually, yeah, this is probably the first time I've seen an idol represent 2 luxury brands. And I'm not talking about a jewelry brand and a luxury fashion brand. Montclair and Dior are both fashion brands, so that's what's a little bit interesting to me. But yeah, we'll see. And Montclair, to this day, till the time of recording, they still haven't announced it themselves. They posted a highlight or whatever, but I don't count that. If you're liking the video so far, which if you're still here, you probably are liking it, make sure to subscribe to FashionULT because this is your K-pop stan inside scoop on all things happening in fashion. Oh, what I forgot to talk about, or at the beginning of the video, was that Stray Kids attended the Met Gala in the beginning of May, the first Monday in May, that's when the Met Gala usually happens, right? But yeah, it was actually very major to see Stray Kids attend as a whole at the Met Gala. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first talked about this on my Instagram, I was a little bit surprised because there were rumors that they were gonna be going as a full group, and I honestly couldn't buy that because, so how the Met Gala works, right, is that the brands will buy a table and invite their own guests, and the table will have maybe like 10 to 12 seats. So for them to invite the entirety of Stray Kids, Tommy Hilfiger in this case, that would mean that like they would be giving up a majority of the seats, but that ended up happening and it was actually kind of a major moment. I'm gonna do a full video on that as well, like, on the whole thing, because it deserves its own video. But yeah, like that was a major moment. Stray Kids, the first ever K-pop group to attend the Met Gala in full as a group. Huge. Black tracks all around the world were heard screaming when 21 posted photos to commemorate their 15th anniversary of their debut. Isn't that crazy how they've been around for 15 years, you guys? Like, time be flying. So anyway, so they posted a group photo to commemorate their 15th anniversary, and each of them had posted their own solo cuts, right? And CL posted hers, and of course she was wearing chrome hearts. Of course, she's like the #1 chrome girl, like the OG chrome girl. And what's crazy is that when she posted the photo, the Chrome Hearts Instagram page also posted her. And if you guys follow Chrome Hearts at all, or like you know Chrome Hearts, you know that they never post any idols ever, or like any celebrities for that matter. Like it's very rare for them to do that. And it really goes to show that like CL and Chrome Hearts, they really have family ties, right? So like they're really close together and it really shows like they love her, like they're down with her. The thing that probably surprised me the most out of all the fashion news so far was seeing Lisa from Blackpink star in Kith Women's new campaign. And the reason this surprised me a little bit is because I feel like we're all, not even just me, we're all very used to Lisa being associated and doing photo shoots with like top tier luxury brands, right? So with like Celine, Bulgari, brands like that. So to see her being the main model for Kith Women's, and for those who don't know, Kith is like an American store, like American retailer who has their own in-house line called Kith Women's, and she was the model for that collection. So yeah, I feel like it was a little bit surprised because we're so used to seeing Lisa associated with these like very top tier luxury brands, right? But this is actually cool because this is kind of like a beachy vibe, and it was cool, and you could tell that she wanted to do this just for fun, not necessarily because like it was a contract or whatever. I feel like this was just like a fun thing that she wanted to do, and the photos came across that way, so that was interesting. Something I don't think a lot of Toomies or K-pop fans in general knew about was Uniqlo's new collaboration with YG's Treasure. So the two collaborated on a new t-shirt clothing collection where it was inspired by like Treasure's discography, so their songs or whatever from their albums. But what was interesting about this collaboration was that it really made me think about how Uniqlo is actually such a great strategic partner for like a K-pop group in general. Because if you think about it, Uniqlo has the ability to produce and distribute merchandise all around the world in a much easier way than Weverse could, right? Because there's Uniqlo stores all around the world. If your country has a Uniqlo store, you could go into the store and buy merch from your favorite K-pop artist, right? Instead of having to go through like a group order, for example, or having to go through Weverse, pay for Weverse shipping, duties, etc., etc. If K-pop groups could just partner with Uniqlo and have them make the merch and distribute it, I think that would benefit fans in a lot of ways. Before we end the video, for those who stayed up until now, let's get into some industry tea, you guys. So the first thing tea-wise I want to talk about is Celine's new video for the Fall Winter 24 collection by Eddie Slimane titled Symphonique Fantastique. And the reason I really want to talk about this is that a lot of industry insiders are speculating that this may be Eddie Slimane's finale show for Celine. Eddie Slimane is currently the artistic director of Celine and has been so since like 2018. And he's really the reason why Celine has been thrusted into the spotlight of K-pop. I feel like before, people in K-pop, like our K-pop idols, weren't really wearing Celine, but since he took on the brand, like you cannot see a K-pop idol without seeing them wear Celine at some point. Like it's crazy, you guys. Like probably one of the most visible brands in K-pop. If this rumor does prove to be true and Eddie Slimane does in fact leave Celine, to me it'll be interesting to see if Celine can maintain its desirability within K-pop. Like will K-pop idols still want to wear Celine? Will they still be styled in Celine? Will the stylists care about Celine? I really am dying to know. Another piece of major fashion news to come out recently is that Chanel recently announced that their artistic director, Virginia Viard, is going to be leaving the brand. And the reason this is so major is that one, like Chanel is like one of the biggest brands in the world, right? And two, people are speculating that Eddie Slimane may be replacing her at the brand. And this is interesting because I feel like for a long time, people were complaining or they were giving Virginie a lot of critiques saying how her collections were kind of like repetitive, they were predictable, etc., etc. This is kind of similar to how people say that about Teddy for Blackpink, right? Like they say like the songs he makes for them are very repetitive and predictable, but at the same time, both of them are similar in the sense that since Virginie has been at the brand, like Chanel's like revenues have been like at an all-time high. Same thing with Teddy at Blackpink, right? So now people are speculating, oh, who's gonna replace them? That's like them saying, I don't know, like P-Dog is gonna replace Virginie at the brand. Like everybody, this is a very big vacancy that everyone in the industry is like looking to see who's gonna replace Virginie. The final thing I want to talk about is the fact that Dior Men's canceled their Hong Kong cruise collection show. And if you guys know Dior, Dior is one of those brands that like they love to be like over the top. They'd be doing like these huge extravaganza shows. Like last season they did a huge show in Egypt. Chanwoo was there, Sehun was there, like they were all there. So for them to do like these grand spectacles and then this season suddenly cancel their Hong Kong cruise collection show that they had already scheduled, it's really interesting. Like, what do you guys think is going on at that brand? Like, I feel like the brand overall has been quiet, both on the men's and women's side. The women's side just had the cruise collection show. No K-pop idols were in attendance, despite them having two of the biggest idols as ambassadors in the world. So we have Perrin from Newjeans and Jisoo from Blackpink, both of which were not at the show. So what's going on at Dior, you guys? Let me know what you think. Okay, you guys, let me know in the comments which news do you think was the most major and what do you want to learn more about? Let me know. That was it for this week's K-pop fashion news that is actually relevant to K-pop fans.